I probably got like good enough.
About halfway through. It says it's now streaming live.
All right. Let me just take a look. See here. So, all right. Welcome everybody. My name is Karen. You're going to do that?
Introduce yourself.
Yes. Hello, everybody. My name is Karen from Quantum Healing with Tena Karen. You don't need to know what I do. Part of the team. It's 1:02 in the AM. Joining today with my lovely co-host, Tina. What up, girl?
What up? Well, a whole lot of interesting things that happened tonight in our RSR sessions. Let me just share this to Facebook in case anyone's up that wants to hang out with us.
Okay. Yeah, we had 3 RSRs back to back today. Been catching up on some work. So before we begin, I'd like to just create a protection around us and all the people that are coming in our circle, sacred space and circle. So yeah, just putting a visibility cloak around all of us and mirrors all around to deflect all the negative energy, intentions, psychic attacks, etc. People trying to claw their way in. I see you. But please like and subscribe. Comment down below. We need one more like to reach 500.
Yeah.
That would be nice. Who's the lucky winner? Oh, God. Yeah.
How are you guys? Is there anyone here?
I don't know. It's kind of late. Oh, there's 2 watching. Does that mean you?
Probably.
Yeah. So that's it. We did a lot of work today. We had to catch up because we had well, I definitely had a couple of days where I had to kind of like well, still in an emotional recovery. So just leveling up in like more learning how to ninja and dodge psychic attacks, really bad psychic attacks, bad dreams. Their energy physically in my room, in my home. A lot of exhaustion. Trauma, like more trauma, like shot in the body. So, I've been like, that's what I've been juggling in the last couple of days. So it was a little difficult to be catching up on some work, but I felt more energized today. I think today was, even last night, I still had bad attacks, but yeah. Tina told me to just like claim back my space, and I did. I did everything that she told me to do today, but I think I was so tired. I was just like, taking back the space. I was so tired. I go, get out of my home. Leave me alone. I need to sleep now.
No, you have to be forceful with them. Like, get
I
the
know.
F out of my home. You know?
Well, I use the real word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in case there's any kids watching.
No, I said, get the fuck out of my house. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be forceful. You can't fight entities like that with love. It doesn't work. That's a myth.
That wasn't love. That wasn't love. That was fucking fatigue.
No, I'm not saying you. I'm just saying in general. Like,
oh, because I was like, all right, get out, please.
You can't. Yeah, you don't battle entities by sending them love. It doesn't work. You have to be empowered, be in your power, and be forceful about it,
Yeah. I haven't slept in like a week, so I finally got a nap in today, which was really good. It was the first time I slept very deeply after I did the big cleanse. And then
And I
yeah, we were
cleared you
ready to work.
too.
Yeah.
I did a big clearing this morning.
Yeah.
So
So yeah, I probably didn't. Tina cleared it all. I didn't do anything.
no, I just
I was just
assisted.
like, no, you did a big chunk. I think it felt a lot better when I got home, to be honest. That I was just like, okay, I really gotta put oil everywhere, and I gotta just took my bottle, and I was like, ooh, douse
Yeah.
it, making
Yeah.
a house salad. No, it felt a lot better after you did the clearing.
Your energy felt a lot better, a lot clearer today.
Yeah. Yeah, yesterday I was so scattered. It just bombarded me. Okay, my psychic attacks are very mental. Okay, really mental. They know exactly where to hit me, what to show me. They know what to say, and I get into my like these splits. Like all the splits come out, and then I'm talking to myself. Like we're all conversing at the table together, like 10 friends, because it could be 10 sometimes. But then there's that voice of reason that comes through that kind of gets the word in. It's the one that anchors me back in, while the other 9 are arguing amongst themselves and showing me things that I don't want to see or that I know is bullshit. So yeah, it's kind of hard sometimes to just try to be in that space when you're already overstimulated, you're so tired, and you have to hear them arguing all the live long day.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
Yeah, it's really tiring. So yes, today's the first day that I've slept like a solid 45 minutes.
Wow.
I know it's a big deal. We get what we can, right? And I
Mhm.
really appreciated it, so that's why it really like worked.
Yeah, you
Because
look
I
so much better tonight.
yeah, because I would wake up every hour or so at night, but I wouldn't really be sleeping. It would be like just that trance state, and then I would go a little deep, but then I would go in a bad dream and then wake up and then have to settle my body back. Yesterday I almost fell out of my bed. Like I felt like I was like in where what was the scene? I was like being backed up off a cliff or something like that. And it was just like it was just not it's not good.
Yeah.
It didn't feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. So in case you guys don't know, like those are all signs of psychic attacks, and they really will try to get, they'll place intrusive thoughts there and they will play on your vulnerabilities. So all of the things that make you vulnerable are, you know, if you feel like insecure in your relationship, say, and they will place thoughts in there that your spouse is cheating or that you're not good enough, or it could be anything. But for me, last night they snuck in my dreams last night and showed me a picture of uh the only thing I remember is that they showed me a visual of my dog being like really sick.
Yeah.
um but they will use everything against you, like everything that you've worked to heal. They will use that against you, and you have to be able to catch it when it's happening and not give any power away to it or energy to it, and really like connecting with the higher self, like Karen said, and anchoring that truth in your body. Like, I know this isn't true, and it's really, sometimes there's only so much protection you can do, especially when they have you like really ground down, like, and tired because they're not letting you sleep, and um, all of that stuff. You really have to just do your best to get through it sometimes. Like, there's not much you can do, and then eventually will lift, but you have to be forceful with like taking back dominion over your body and your home, because
That was so bad.
you can sink into that like feeling of being victimized, right? And like, oh fuck, why is this happening again? I can't deal with this, like all of those things, because it can be exhausting. It's exhausting. So yeah.
Yeah, really exhausting. Like to the point where being a victim was really comforting. Because I'm like, I didn't do anything wrong. Like, what the hell did I do now?
Right.
Yeah, it was just going on and on and on and on. And really, like, the irrational thoughts were like wild. So many, like, just a number of things. And it wasn't just one thing, it was everything that I was already like, had battled mentally, had come back. And it's just like, oh, there you are again, old friend.
Yeah. Old friends. Anyway, how are you guys doing? Let us know in the chat here. Who's here tonight? Anyone want to say hi? So yeah, we just wanted to come on and chat a little bit informally. We had some really interesting things come through in our sessions tonight. One of those was something that we've never seen before, and it was an RSR, remote spirit release, for a male in his early 50s. And we saw that, like, the opening scene was that he needed to have control. Like, that was his thing. He needed to really control everything in his life and make sure it runs a certain way. And I asked what the root cause of that was, if it was just from this life, because I had a feeling it wasn't. And Karen saw that he was a father in a past lifetime who had 5 boys that went off to war and died in the war, in the Civil War. And you saw him like being presented with the flags, like each time the boys died, right?
Yeah,
And that just, I
crushed
mean,
him.
crushed him. Yeah, that's heartbreaking to say the very least. And, so he ended up in that lifetime being just like a grumpy old man, just being completely closed off, sad, in despair. And, in our RSRs, we're not doing like past life exploration. So we don't explore the whole lifetime. We kind of just get the gist of it. And then, we get what we need to know in order to heal that and create a boundary there. So we saw that we went to the last day of that life, and there was a lot of tears, you said, and he was feeling a bit delusional, right?
Yeah, he was crying. Because he was, delusional because he saw his kids around him, like they were around. So he was seeing the other side.
So they were there in spirit.
Yes. As he was transitioning.
Yeah. So as he left his body, can you describe what you saw?
I saw that he was, there was a light that was there. And then, but the light was not what I usually see when we cross people over. It felt very artificial, like a false light, like how you said it, like it was a false light. I'm like, yes. And so he went through that, and you're like, what else do you see? And it was like when we crossed through that light, the false light, it was like I don't know if you guys ever watched the movie Trolls, but it was like a Bergen town. So Bergens are like just these really dark, grumpy beings. They're, what is it?
Like
They're
trolls,
just,
kind of, but they're not
but
nice trolls.
the other side of the trolls. Like grumpy type, whatever, low frequency, low vibrational beings. So, so he was there. And then I think through time over there, he became that, like he withered into that. So he had more of a regression on the soul, like, or whatever, and morphed into that. And then what we understood was that it was like his own purgatory, or it was purgatory, or like part of the astral realm. And with those specific beings, because I've seen beings in the astral, and there's different kinds, a lot of different, I'll call them races of beings that are there. So yeah, he was with these specific ones, and it did resemble who he became after all his kids passed. Like he just got hardened, he shut off, closed everything down, was like really grumpy man. I think I said he reminded me of Mr. Wilson from Dennis the Menace. So he had that kind of feel to him, or the old man in the movie Up. So instead of him having compassion, it was like he just shut everything down, became a really grumpy man.
So he wasn't like, and he completely shut down his heart. Like he wasn't in touch with the heart at all.
No.
Which, looking at this, it seems like when you're completely, when your heart is completely shut down, that can lead to, and you don't heal from it, that can lead to like a degradation of the soul itself.
That's a good word. Yeah.
People think that it doesn't matter what you do in this lifetime, that when you leave the body, you're going to automatically just go into the light, into the true light, into heaven, so to speak, or the higher realms. And I think what we're seeing more and more is that it's more complicated than that.
Mm-hmm.
And this was really the first time we've seen this. So what happened was he was stuck there, and he felt like this was a punishment. He felt like, right? That's what you said, that he felt like this was a punishment, or this was a punishment, or something like that.
I don't remember per se, but it was just, he felt like he belonged here. Like that was where he was supposed to be. Like he wasn't crossing over.
Right. And that was a big part of it too. He didn't feel worthy of the true light.
Right.
And when beings don't feel worthy of the true light, they can get stuck in purgatory, or in this space in the astral, because when we leave the body, we have to cross through the astral realm to get to the higher dimensions. We have to cross through the fourth dimension. So someone with a heart that's cut off and a soul that has degraded over a lifetime will not have the strength to make it through that realm.
Right. Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, I was gonna say about like how but then there was that spark of light that he did have in his heart. The spark of light that he did have was closed off by that heart wall after all of the traumas of losing his kids. So what we understood also was that piece of him, like I guess when he exited the body, that part that was hidden or that was protected by the heart wall was also protected by his children. So when they passed through the astral, they were protecting this light. So his soul was actually split in that moment. So that the unworthy split, or that one went to purgatory and the other one went to crossover or with the children
Into the higher realms.
Right.
Yeah. I just thought that was so fascinating. I've never seen, in all the regressions that I've listened to, like that's what we do. We take the person to their last day of life and sometimes see where they go from there. I've never seen a soul split like that and go like two different places.
But it makes sense because I mean, like with our soul retrievals, I mean, like we drop shit off all like everywhere, it seems like, and then and also the subpersonalities, like we see ourselves split just as humans, and that was a major trauma for him. I don't know exactly, like we didn't see like how close together they died, but I mean they all died in that one war. So I would assume it was pretty close together. It kind of reminded me of Saving Private Ryan, like how they were trying to save that one last child, like, well, him, Private Ryan, to bring him home because his other brothers died in the war. So, but in this case, it was just like unsuccessful.
I love how
All
you
of
have
them
all
perished.
all these movie references.
Yeah, it reminded me of that one session where there was all kinds of like references to movies. But yeah, I guess just to give a clear idea of how um my stuff works, like when I'm in it, so that I could better understand it. They always reference things to me so that I could better understand it in my own way, I guess, or
Mhm.
how I interpret it. Yeah. And so I could relay it back to Tina so she could see it herself. So
Yeah.
in case I get stuck, she'll be able to kind of pull through and bring us on the other side of the mud, which happens a lot. I find it's funny because like I babble and she's like, and so it's this, and I'm like, yes, that was one word, and I was talking for half an hour.
It's always been that way though. I've always been able to like take what you say and narrow
Yeah.
it down to
One
that.
sentence or one word in this case, I remember, and I was like, yeah, could have just said that. Yeah, she's like the Cliff's Notes, and I'm like the book.
Exactly.
I love that.
You know what's funny too? In high school, all the books we had to read, I never read a whole book. I always read the Cliff Notes. Maybe that's why I'm so good at like um what's it called? Now I can't find my words. Uh making things concise. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
I
why
always
I'm
call
good
you the
at
conciser. Yeah, you're good at it. Cause like I never read book in high school, so I
it.
couldn't tell you. But just to side note, but when I would highlight things, I would highlight everything. So I was, yeah, one of those, except for like the little words, the and.
There you go. That
Yeah.
makes
So
sense.
yeah, he's in a pod. Yours are the and the and I'm the rest of it. Oh,
That's
concise.
so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had to do like a huge soul retrieval for that piece that got stuck there in Purgatory. We had to
Mm-hmm.
call in the angelics to
Mm-hmm.
actually go in there and find him and retrieve that part of him.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I didn't even tell you how the retrieval was. Like how Archangel Christiel went to go get him. It was like a fishnet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like she shot it out there and was like, and I'm like, okay, you go do that. I gotta go do the rest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So she
because they
caught
were
up
kind
with
of
it.
like flying, and some were like walking or crawling, but I felt like she had to like get, I don't know. I think the net was specifically for that his energy per se, so she was just able to get it. I didn't really get to see it, but I saw what she was doing like in my peripheral.
Mm, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that piece had to be retrieved and integrated back into the whole. What?
No, because I could see the YouTube under. I have it on my um right here, and I'm just seeing myself doing this. So I'm just like, I'm trying not to look because it's distracting. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, and so it gets really complicated and kind of convoluted when we're talking about this kind of stuff.
That's a good word.
That's funny. I just saw that.
You know,
I just happened to look.
you're gonna see it again.
Um, so yeah, our soul can actually split into infinite aspects of itself. Um, and so as our soul is kind of out there experiencing all of these different things, past lives, parallel lives, future lives, aspects of ourselves that might be stuck in the astral, there are just an infinite number of things that we can experience because we are multi-dimensional beings.
Correct.
So all of these aspects of ourselves that are having this infinite amount of experiences out there are all affecting our lifetime now, this current life, because there's really no such thing as time. It's an illusion, right? In this 3D reality. But in the grander scheme of things, it's everything is happening right now. That's how it works. That this is what quantum healing is. It's multidimensional healing. So it's like when you retrieve that stuck soul, that stuck part of someone, that huge chunk of a lifetime that was traumatized and stuck there in the astral, just withering away, and heal that aspect and reintegrate it into the whole, that can change someone's whole entire life.
Yeah. Absolutely. If you were just remove that influence, it's gone.
Right. And that's incredible. Like the fact that we can do that, that our consciousness is so multidimensional, that we could go and retrieve that soul from the astral, integrate it back into the whole, and then this guy's life, you know, could change forever. And and will allow also for the soul's evolution and growth. So it's not being held back so much anymore by being stuck there. It's literally like being stuck and frozen in time, and also even worse, degrading over time, you know, the longer that it's there. So yeah, that was really amazing and like super interesting. So because that piece of him was there stuck in the astral, his current self was attracting astral beings into his energy field and home. They were in his home too.
Oh yeah, it was like riddled in astral beings. So yeah.
And
the whole bed was a portal.
Right. Yeah, the whole bed was a portal, and you said that was the first time you ever saw that.
Yeah, he would just, whoever would lie down on that bed would go in the astral right away.
Really interesting. Wow. So he also had a level 1 and a level 2 dark force entity attached to him, which was feeding into his increase in need for control and the OCD like behaviors. And also the critical voice in his mind that was, you know, this need for perfection that he had. So these dark force entities are going to always feed into and exacerbate what your vulnerabilities already are and make it that much worse.
Right.
So that's how they work. And that's why it's so important to heal our traumas, because that's what leaves us vulnerable, because that's what they can hook into. Just like we were talking, like with Karen's kind of like mental stuff, that's how they get to her, because they know they can, because that's old kind of stuff that's in there that they will bring up again, you know?
Oh yeah, they love that.
Oh, another interesting thing about this session was that device in where was it? The throat? That was like altering the way food tastes or something.
Oh yeah, I had a really weird taste in my mouth. I remember like when I was as I was scanning. So when I look for devices, I start at the top and I just kind of like do the like a scan, and I could feel it. But yeah, the throat, it stopped here. And then right when it stopped there, I was able to locate it exactly so we could remove it. But I'm like, when I tune into it, I'm like, what does it do? Oh my God, like the taste in my mouth changed. And I was like, well, what the hell is that? It's weird. So yeah, it would definitely have some sort of manipulation. I don't know if that's exactly what he has, but it definitely has something to do with his either his eating habits or things that food is not tasting how it should. It changes, it alters what it is. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, that was really interesting because also on the form, one of the things that was written down was, which I didn't even tell you, was something about food consumption or inconsistencies with food consumption.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was really interesting. Um, there was a portal in the crown too, which was connected to the astral too, right?
I think so. I can't remember
Yeah.
exactly. Just to answer, not Lenny. So is magic real? Absolutely. Saying
Yes.
yes, all in caps.
So there was another lifetime that came through this session too, which, these sessions we're not looking for past lifetimes. They do show up sometimes, but not always. But this one had two specifically that, or actually three that came through. The second one was another aspect of himself who was a single dad, a businessman who was trying to find a balance between his home and his business, feeling a lot of anger and frustration. Um, and it was kind of like mirroring his current lifetime now. Um, uh, and so when we see things like this, these past lives that very much mirror the current life, um, that adds all of this energy from that lifetime on top of this one. Because when we see these past, we'll call them past lifetimes, but like we already said, everything is happening now. And because everything's happening now, this energy from this life that we were shown is kind of overflowing into this one more strongly because there's that vibrational resonance between them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what we do is send healing to this aspect of himself that is experiencing this life now and all the players in that life and create a boundary there so that it's not overflowing so much into this one.
Mm-hmm.
And we also, I just lost my thought.
Let's put it back.
Mm, it's not coming. um,
Usually works.
I know. What did I say before that?
Um, that's great. I don't know. I was like, see, that's magic, because then it like totally like left the building.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, the other life that we saw related to this was he was a husband, he had a wife. They were in love, but there was friction there because there was some kind of curse on that lifetime, on that relationship that was affecting his relationship to women in this lifetime. So these things that happen in past lifetimes can and do have effects on our current lifetime. That is the whole point of quantum healing and going into these multi-dimensional aspects of ourselves to heal what still needs to be healed in those lifetimes so that we can integrate those aspects into our current life self. I feel like that is part of our purpose here at this time for a lot of us that are beginning to really expand in our soul growth and evolution, is really like integrating all of these aspects of ourselves. So that was really interesting. So one of my questions was, though, why is he experiencing so much of the same thing? And really it was because he hasn't learned those lessons yet, and they keep repeating. And his lesson is to trust more fully in life, to let go, to go with the flow of things, to trust in himself, to find joy in the present moment. So that is his, I guess, assignment for this lifetime, to really learn those things and master those skills. Um,
Yeah, because the control aspect of him was really excessive. That he was limiting himself from ever expanding because of that fear of the
Losing
unknown.
himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because I kept seeing him. He kept like not wanting to see anything. He was just like, I'm only gonna see what I'm doing and that's it, because I know I have the control.
Yeah. And I think,
Backseat driver.
yeah. And I think a lot of people experience that, right? A lot of people are afraid to lose themselves. I think that's what prevents people from awakening because they're afraid of what they're going to see.
Right.
They're afraid of the unknown. They're much better kind of in their controlled reality where they know what to expect
Mm-hmm.
instead of just kind of opening that door. And when you open that door, you are stepping into the great unknown. And that can be really scary for people. So it's really that there's fear behind that need for control.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Um, yeah, so that was pretty much it for that session. There was some other things, thought forms, dissociated sub-personalities, and his soul was at like 64% of the soul. So recovering that big chunk of it and other aspects of himself in the soul retrieval brought him back up to 100%. So now he is all cleared, soul retrieved, ready to expand, and we'll see.
Yeah. I know. It's like we can only just hope. Like we're like, all right, here it is.
Yeah. Okay. So the other session we had was really interesting too. We've done this client before, but he recently had a surgery. And what we saw was when we connected with him was that his soul was not fully anchored in the body. And you saw some kind of layers or something on top of him, right? Do you
Yeah,
remember that?
there was like a layer up here, and then there was space, and then another one on top, and then he was up here, like right on top there, asking for help.
Mm.
So they had like really taken him far and up away from his body, so he was not fully anchored in.
Mhm. Yeah, and that can happen with anesthesia because when you have anesthesia, you're actually leaving the body. And if you do a little bit of research, you will find that people will actually hover above their bodies and watch the entire thing happen.
Hmm.
They'll remember what was said in the room, like they'll hear everybody talking and they'll see everything and they'll remember it when they come back into their bodies after the surgery. However, there's always the risk of not being able to get back in the body fully. And that's what we saw here, that he wasn't able to fully anchor in. Did you feel that those layers were there on purpose so that he couldn't get back in, or was it just a result of the anesthesia?
Purposefully.
Yeah. So also when you're in a hospital setting, anytime you're in a hospital setting, there's a lot of dark energies in the hospital. There's also a lot of lost souls, earthbound souls that are stuck there. And anytime you walk into a hospital, you risk the possibility of getting an attachment, whether that's a dark force entity or an earthbound soul that attaches to you. So anytime you walk into a hospital, you have to be prepared. Um, have your protection on, create your bubble of light around you, your invisibility cloak, whatever you use for protection, whatever feels good for you. But definitely be aware that there are energies there that will attach and cause extra issues. This is why there's so much postpartum depression. Because when women go in to give birth, they are so highly vulnerable and open to the energies that are there. And they'll usually pick up something while they're there. They go home, they start, having these feelings of depression, not feeling connected to their baby. And really, there's a dark force entity that is influencing those feelings, and that's
Right.
why so many women struggle with it. So definitely, just having that awareness that and protecting yourself will help with that. And also, clearing yourself or getting a clearing, like if you have to stay in the hospital, if you have to have surgery, definitely take those precautions.
So you think hospitals are bad? No, not necessarily. We're talking about energy.
Yeah.
And there's a
Yeah.
lot of vulnerable people there. So that gives a lot of room for these dark energies to come and take advantage of the vulnerable. So that's what we're saying.
No, and it's the same with any place. There's energy everywhere, right? No matter where we go out in the public, in our own home, it's everywhere. But there are places that have higher amounts of negative energy, and one of those is the hospital. No, it's not bad. It's just having the awareness of the reality of it and how to protect yourself. So, yeah. Um, so then we saw, after we got him anchored back into his body, there was this energy that showed up and shifted into a rattlesnake, right? And hissed at you.
Yeah, it hissed. It was like, it was going around me, but it was mainly here that was, because like on this side is where, like my right side is where I see the guides. Does my head move? Do you see my head move like when I'm working? Okay. So if it's moving or whatever, it's because I'm actually looking for things. But
Yeah.
usually right side for me, it's usually a good, more positive thing. Negative things are usually on my left.
That's funny.
You're
Because
the
mine's the
opposite, right?
opposite. Yeah.
Right. Well, we're mirrors. So yeah, it's the same. Like they're there. So it was just here, really trying to come in. But I had made such a protection around myself that it couldn't come into my field. It was really trying to break through. And like, but I could hear the hissing.
Mm.
I'm like, all right, cool, cool story, bro. Yeah, so that thing shape shifted. We were able to identify who it was, and then it shape shifted and showed me who they really were. Yeah.
Yeah. And it created actual like snake bites in the field of this person, right?
Yeah.
Along the spine.
All along the spine, top to bottom, or like there's like three specific. So like one at the top near the head, and then mid back, let's say, and then around the hip area. And then that thing also was generationally passed. So it was like going to the his daughter, and it started, I think it was also like around the T spine, right there or something like that, high up in the T spine. So yeah, it was from what I understood, like from that, it was like being used, like there was some sort of like energy that was in those bites, let's say. um I guess it was like venom in a way,
Mm-hmm.
that would kind of go through, and it would, depending on this person's weakness, so their vulnerability points, their traumas, it would induce a response out of them. So let's say a lot of guilt or whatever it was, that would come up to the surface, and then it would manipulate this person to do what they wanted them to do. So, you know, it was really very strategic and sneaky.
Yeah.
And so they were trying to get the daughter for her to kind of groom her into that, like slowly, like get her into that.
Yeah. Yeah, the snake bites were from the negative energy.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not a physical bite. It's an etheric bite. So we have this physical body, right? But we're all energy. This physical body that we have is just denser energy. And right above our body, we have an etheric field that's about that much around here. And then we have layers that go out. So when we're looking for these snake bites, they're in the inner etheric field. So it would be like down the spine, but not in the physical body itself, but down the spine in the etheric field. I hope that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because these are etheric beings we're talking about. So this snake being is a spiritual being, and it can only create, I guess, spiritual bites. It can't influence or actually create physical form or physical matter. It can only influence the spiritual and the etheric.
Right. Right. Correct.
But then what happens in our etheric, in our energy body, then that can influence our physical body. That's why we do these clearings, because what happens in the spiritual realms affects us physically, because there's no separation. It's all one energy field. We just so happen to be able to see this one, and we can't see the others with our physical eyes because we can only see less than 1% of the electromagnetic spectrum of light. Less than 1% we can see. So there are things happening all around us all the time that we can't see with our physical eyes, like Wi-Fi, for instance. We can't see Wi-Fi, but we know it works. We can't see the signal to our cell phones, but we know that it's happening because it works, you know? Like there's so many things happening around us in these different frequencies of light that Karen can tap into when she goes into those realms using her third eye. Yeah?
Correct.
Is that a good explanation? Okay.
Yeah, I hope so. I
Was he
understood it.
in pain? No, I don't think he was in pain per se, but sometimes people can have maybe like it might feel a little bit tender, or you might just have like a sensation itself.
Yeah, so sometimes persisting pain, let's say, that you may have, or yeah, soreness. Maybe they could physically manifest. You know, it really depends. You know, we can't say that it may not physically manifest, but I'm sure they could physically manifest if they were kind of like, I don't know, I guess it depends. You know, not every situation is the same.
Right. And when they do physically manifest, they might not actually look like bites. They might look like a birthmark or a red mark or something like that. Right.
Do you believe in people getting possessed and exorcisms? Absolutely. Just like magic. Yes. Exclamation mark.
Yeah. That's a lot of what we do is so we don't necessarily work with people that are fully possessed. There are different levels of possession. Most people
like influence, you know.
Influence, right? So it can start with influence. So they can start with just getting
implanted thoughts,
close to you and implanting thoughts in your mind, maybe causing physical manifestations in your home, moving things around, things like that. And there are different levels of entities too, as well. So it could be a complicated issue. So it can go all the way from just influencing you to full-blown possession where that entity fully takes over your body. That is real and it does happen. We don't get a lot of clients that experience that. Our clients experience where they might not even realize they have an attachment at all, or they can be severely affected and almost in spiritual psychosis. So it's like a whole range of symptoms. But yes, definitely possession is real. Exorcisms are real. They do work, and so does remote spirit release. And we can also do another form of releasing those spirits through hypnosis therapy. I hope that helps. Oh, hi, Ava.
Hey, Eva.
Okay. So we saw that this man's daughter was also being affected by this snake energy, and also had, oh, right, because it was affecting them both through this like birthmark they had on, right? Because they had like both had birthmarks on their neck or something.
Yeah, like it was high up. I don't know. Like I couldn't really see it clearly, but I just saw that it was the same ones. And on the behind the head or the neck, like something like that. It was up there.
Yeah. So birthmarks can actually be related to sometimes past life trauma, like, I don't know, say you were in like, ancient times and you got speared and you have a birthmark here on your chest. It could be a symbol of what actually happened in that past lifetime. In this case, it seemed that where those snake bites were on their neck is where they had the birthmarks. So it's very interesting how these things work and carry over from other lifetimes. And so this little girl had this feminine energy with her, was an earthbound soul. So earthbound souls are human souls that die but don't get fully crossed over into the light for one reason or another. Sometimes they just don't feel worthy, like the first case that we talked about. Sometimes their soul is degraded as well, so they can't make it through the astral realm and into the light. Sometimes they have a traumatic death, so they get stuck here and don't realize that they're dead. There's so many different reasons why souls can get stuck and become earthbound, and sometimes they'll still just like repeat the same things over and over, especially with people who have what?
No, is that what people would attune to like as ghosts?
Yeah.
Just because they were asking about the ghosts, so I'm just clarifying.
Oh yeah. So yes, ghosts are earthbound souls. They're human souls that have died and not fully crossed over. Some people will stay around to comfort their families, and then they don't know how to get back to the other side, so they can stay around for hundreds.
They got a one-way ticket.
Yeah.
Like, oh, crap.
Yeah, and they can stay around for hundreds of years, thousands even. There are a lot of lost souls roaming around in the astral realms.
Right.
And
this is what people don't understand, like unless you're educated or understand what the astral realm is, if you become spiritual and they tell you like, yeah, you got to learn how to astral project, you're going to find meditations like that. Learn to like go on a meditation to astral project. I know it because I've done it. So, and it's not good. Like, it's not a good thing. Like, if you're
Yeah.
not protecting yourself, if you don't know how to actively protect your energy and you go into these places, it's like fishing. You're going to go there and you're going to pick some stuff up and you're going to bring it home with you.
Yeah.
So, and they could eventually influence you. They could influence your environment. So it's like, you have to really be aware of these things. Am I starting to think different things? Like, why are my habits changing? Yeah, even like illnesses can occur. So yeah, there's just a number of things that can happen, and to just be aware of that.
Yeah. We watched a really interesting movie last night called Things Heard and Seen, or Things Seen and Heard.
Something like that.
Something like that. Anyway, it was about earthbounds, or what you would call ghosts, who lived within a home and would influence the people that were there. Now, you could say, in a way, that would create a level of possession, at least for the man in that movie, because he was so influenced by them that he actually carried out the thoughts that they were feeding to him, to the point where he murdered his wife. And that did not only happen in that lifetime, but it happened to 2 families before that. So these pair of earthbounds, this husband and wife, these 2 ghosts were stuck inside this house where they built this house. He killed her, and then they both got stuck there in that house. And so each family that moved in there afterwards, the husband and wife, were then being affected and influenced by these ghosts. This
Right.
is a real thing. This is a real phenomenon. This really happens. And people think it's just a scary movie. It's not. It's real. We can be influenced all the time by energies that we can't see around us. So if you have thoughts that aren't your own, or intrusive or violent thoughts, it really might not be coming from you. And that's why it's always a good idea to have an energy clearing done. But yeah, so each family that moved into that house was repeating the same cycle that happened. The husband would end up killing the wife over and over and over again. And everybody in the town knew it.
Right.
But nobody warned them. They just kind of like kept watching it happen over and over again.
How did the first couple, what happened to them?
Like, for a couple that first lived there,
Yeah.
it was, the husband killed the wife.
But nothing influenced him. That was his own doing.
I don't know
Wasn't
if that
sure.
was his own doing, or maybe what I feel is he was influenced by a dark force entity.
Right.
So dark force entities are what religion would call devils or demons, entities like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like in the majority of like murder cases, there has to be some kind of
Possession or influence.
Yeah. Because it's not really natural for a human to be able to do that without some sort of influence.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right.
What else do you guys want to know? Um,
Anything else happen in that session? There's a lot of stuff that happened in our sessions today.
Yeah, there was negative ETs at his surgery. Reptilians,
yeah,
exactly.
True. Oh my God, yeah, true.
There were reptilians at his surgery that implanted a device.
It was like a black, dark blue ball or something like that.
Yeah.
And in the instruments too. there
Mhm.
was, or I don't know. No, I don't know if that happened to him per se, but the information that came through is that there's so much, negative energies that are around that the energies can wrap themselves or whatever, with the instruments that they use. So it's like when they take the scalpel and they cut, they could go enter that way. It's really weird. Like,
Yeah. So we had to clear out the energy that was in his wound itself.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah,
And
because
remove that device.
what was the point of that device? I don't remember what was said there. Did we ask that?
I didn't write it down. I don't remember either.
Okay. But it had something to do with that kind of influence for sure.
Yeah.
Or to degrade him, I guess, with his I guess for him to get sicker or not to recover or
Right.
a slower recovery, something like that.
Yeah. It was slow recovery. And there was a tracking device.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's
Yeah.
very true.
Yeah. Um,
What are the reptilians, Tina?
what are the reptilians? Gosh. Um, well, reptilians are beings that many people say that they are physical beings that live underground on Earth and have a lot of influence on humanity itself, which is kind of why we're in this situation that we are now on Earth with all of the suppression that's happening. I really don't know how to explain that. That's a
Reptilians are just like a race of beings, just like how there are grays, there are, I don't know, there's like a vast number of different races out there in the galaxy, So reptilians are, let's say, one of them.
right. They're malevolent. They're malevolent, mostly malevolent race of extraterrestrials. Some people would call them interdimensionals instead of extraterrestrials, like as if, oh, that gets complicated. Well,
Yeah.
let's just call them extraterrestrials for now, and that they're here on Earth and they keep humans suppressed. And yeah, anything else to
Yeah,
add to that?
I don't know. I mean, like, it's not really in that topic right now, but yeah, I guess we have to like think about how we can talk about this. So thank you for asking that question. We'll probably do a video sometime in the near future and talk about beings.
Yeah. Yeah, because they can, even though they are physical beings, they do have the capability to also be etheric. Um,
Right.
and so they could be, say, in the hospital room with this person who's on the table and not be seen and insert, a tracking device etherically into their field. Um, yeah.
Or even possess, because
Oh,
if the doctor is also in trance while they're working, that leaves them open for something to come in and work through them.
a really interesting book for you guys to read if you want to know more on reptilians is Galactic History of the Universe by Rising Phoenix Aurora. That's a really good book. So that book is a collection of hypnosis sessions. So these people go under hypnosis into regression and visit other lifetimes, like we talked about earlier, past lifetimes that are affecting this life now. And in Aurora's session, she has a lot of reptilian kind of things that come through. Reptilians, archons, malevolent beings. So there's a lot in there. It's called Galactic Soul History of the Universe by Rising Phoenix Aurora. That's a really good resource to learn more about reptilians, how they work, and what kind of their role is here on Earth.
All right, next question. And how do you clean out the bad energy, Tina?
Why do I have to answer all the questions? You can take that one.
That one? Oh, it's how do we clean out the bad
How
energy?
do we do it specifically, like in our work, or like how would we tell you to do it, like at home?
Well, I feel like it's just very multi-layered.
Right.
It's really how could one do it? Let's see. Well, I guess you would have to acknowledge that there's some bad energy, right? You have to know your energy. The education that we try to give our clients and just people in general is that you have to learn to know your energy. Sovereign, meaning there's nothing influencing you at all. And how do you know you're being influenced? Well, a lot of self-awareness is key. When you get to know your own energy without any influence, or if you just know what it is, when something comes in and out of your field, let's say, you'll be able to pick that up. You'll be able to know if those thoughts are actually yours or if they aren't. You'll be able to know if there's something being implanted in you, like mentally. So yeah, there's just like a number of things. But I feel that when you become at a level of, pretty good self-awareness, you can actually be able to cleanse all the energy out by not allowing or giving consent for it to take over or for it to come and stay in your field.
Yeah. And you can
That's
also,
basic.
yeah, that's really good. You can also, lie down, be still, kind of get yourself in a nice, relaxed state of being, and you can scan your body. So starting from head to toe, scanning your body, and feeling into where you notice any strange sensations, any tension in your body, if you visualize any dark spots, if you see maybe any devices or chips or energies that don't belong or don't feel like yours, you just start from the top of your head and start scanning down through the body. When you do find something, you can use your imagination. This is the whole thing. We have to get back in touch with our imagination, because our imagination is our connection with source energy. And that's how the subconscious works as well. So say you find a device, say in the right side of your chest, just for example. You would use your imagination to find a way to take that out and get rid of it. So maybe you'll use fire. Maybe you'll imagine that fire is melting that device away, and burning it to ash, and then you'll suck out the ashes with a vacuum.
Pretty good.
Right? That's pretty much how you do it, right?
Yeah, you could use anything you want, whatever you feel is cleansing or enough to remove what should not belong there. You could take a knife and just cut it out, use a cantaloupe scooper, like whatever you want. Anything you want.
Yeah. So the way we do clearings, we were trained by Dr. Terence Palmer from the UK. He taught us a specific protocol called remote spirit release. So we go through this protocol, like if we have a client, we go through a specific protocol to check for specific things. So for example, we check for dark force entities, we check for earthbound souls, we check for portals, we check through the chakras, we check for implants and devices, all kinds of things. It's a very thorough protocol. Interdimensional parasites, thought forms. And then we work with our spirit guides to do the actual removal of negative energies. And Karen does a lot of psychic surgery as well. That's the simplest way, I think, to explain it.
I don't know about that. But yeah, it is. But again, it's like, again, if you've never heard of these things, then yeah, it could be a little out there.
It sounds crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really normal for us because we do this a lot. So yeah, and we learn a lot of new things as we go along. I mean, burning contracts, removing cords. They're asking what exactly is devices. Well, devices are just kind of like implants. You can have like these like invisible etheric implants that they put on you. Majority, a lot of them I see on the throat because they're trying to suppress your voice by being able to speak. You know, if you ever have issues like being confrontational or trying to voice yourself to somebody, but you feel that resistance, sometimes that could be a device that's preventing you from doing that.
Yeah, so devices can be used for any number of reasons. Some of them are for tracking, to keep track of you. Some of them are, like Karen said, like in specific chakra areas to maybe, you know, shut down your voice, maybe in your solar plexus to shut down, to not allow you to connect fully into your power center, maybe in your heart to kind of cut you off from the heart. There are many different reasons why they can be used, and usually they'll look like little chips. Or how do they look to you, Car?
Yeah, like little, yeah, chips, or like you know, like the little those little SD cards.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like that. I just want to put a disclaimer in here, Jackson, like no cutting literally. Like we're not talking about physical, we're not talking about, you know, physical cutting. We're talking about imagination cutting.
Oh yes.
All like, let's just put that out there. We're not physically doing anything to anybody. It's all through the etheric. And so if you've never known our work, like Tina's facilitator and I'm the medium, so I go in by connecting with my third eye. You can't, it's here. Yeah, so like I connect through my intuition, if that makes sense. I hope so. So
Right.
yeah, we don't physically cut. Tina and I always usually work online together. So I mean, when we're connecting with a client, the client is usually not in front of us. Or if they are, they're watching me do the session as I connect to their energetic body. So I can't physically cut them. There's no physical. So just
There's no
putting
physical. It's
putting
all
that,
energy.
yeah, all energy. There's no physical anything.
It's all energy work.
We do not have to be with them physically to do the work on them. Like tonight, we did 3 clients and none of them were with us.
Because energy goes beyond time and space. It doesn't matter where in the world you are, you can connect with someone. Like, for example, did you ever like think about someone and 2 minutes later they called you, or vice versa? Like, that's how connected we are. We're all connected on that level, and we just have to tune in to someone's energy to be able to connect with them like that.
Yeah.
So that's how it works.
That's also a form of magic.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dan says, I would want to protect loved ones who have to be in surgery or hospital with protective shield, invisibility cloak, and protection prayer taught me.
Oh, great.
Great,
That's great, Van. All you have to do is just, intention is everything. So
yeah, because literally our thoughts manifest instantly. So everything you think becomes real in the etheric realms instantly. So if you think and create your invisibility shield, if you think that you're invisible, then you actually are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And to explain that a little bit further, so like for manifesting, say for manifesting things, you know, how we put our intention into something that we want to manifest into our reality. What we need to understand about that is things move slower in third density. So in the physical density and things you can touch, you know,
Physically.
physically. Now, our thoughts manifest instantly in the etheric world, the world that we can't see. So know that when you have a thought that you are protected, that you are strong, that you are wearing your armor of God and you are invisible, that that is real because it manifests instantly. Things might take longer if you want them in the physical. Say you want a car, for instance. That's going to take more time because things manifest slower in the third density, in the physical density. That's why people get frustrated when their manifestations don't show up, but it takes much longer in the third density for that to happen because it's slower here.
Yeah.
It's literally the atoms vibrate at a slower rate than they do in the etheric realm, in the spiritual realm.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I put my invisibility cloak on all the time. So when I go to my kids' school for like parent teacher stuff and we have group meetings with all the parents, I put them on so no one talks to me. And it's true because like I have
It
my
works.
my daughter's best friend, like her dad was like and his wife were like in the class with me and they didn't see me and they were right next to me. So
Yeah. It works it
it
works.
works.
Yeah. It really works. Okay. So our other client that we had tonight, he was a beautiful soul who had a really beautiful, tender, sensitive kind of nature to him. The word softy came through actually. And he was a kind of person that likes to help people, an empath, a really sensitive, highly sensitive person who is a light worker and, you know, wants the best for everybody. So what we saw in his session was that he had this like mountain of vines around him in his outer etheric field. So like from here out is your outer etheric field, which includes mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies around you. And in this field, we can accumulate a lot of different things, thoughts, emotions, energy, all kinds of things can manifest in this outer etheric realm. So
And not all is yours, by the way.
and not all is yours because you can pick up energies from other people, or people can come and dump all of their stuff on you and you just become a sponge for it. Take it all on because you're a nice person, you're a good person, and you want to help them. And then you end up carrying all of this weight on top of you that has accumulated throughout your life. And then you start to feel tired and heavy and just weighed down like you're carrying a ton of bricks around. And this is why it's because all of this energy has accumulated here over a lifetime of just kind of allowing everybody to dump their stuff on you without having the awareness of energy hygiene and how to kind of release all of that stuff without storing it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, so these vines kind of were holding all the thought forms and emotions and stories from all of these people that he's helped over his lifetime. And this kind of lower vibrational energy will also attract other low vibrational energy. So it will attract people and situations and even spiritual entities into your life because um, there's a vibrational match there. There's a resonance. So if you ever are wondering why like so many negative things are happening, you know, you might have some negative energy built up in your field that is attracting these other things into your life. So the big thing we saw with him, he also had this, which I thought was funny, this tall grass around him
Yeah.
that symbolized that he really needed to take care of himself and and cut his grass. So Mary cut his grass for him and told him to do more self-care, more boundaries with people, more learning how to say no. That is so important for sensitive, empathic people. Learning to say no can feel really scary when you first start to do it.
Oh my God, yeah. I remember it used to give me a body reaction to even think to say no because, uh, we say no and then we give the reason why. That's a trauma response. I don't
Yeah.
think people realize that that's a trauma response because we're like kind of overcompensating for their reaction towards our no,
Yeah.
thinking that we have to give them a real, excuse
A good
to,
reason why
yeah,
we
to
can't do it.
validate, yeah, to validate why our no, like, I can't now, please like me still,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's our need to be liked and loved and to have that validation because the most likely we didn't receive that in childhood.
Right. Chances are no.
Chances are we didn't. So we're still seeking that love and validation of the parent pretty much. So we seek it in everywhere outside of us that we have this need to feel loved and liked and validated. So the thought of saying no to someone and creating boundaries with someone is so incredibly fear inducing because of that deep, deep fear of loss.
Yeah. It's so deep.
Like if I say no to them, they're not going to like me anymore.
They
And I'm
probably
going to
won't.
lose them. And they might not. That's the thing. They might not like you anymore. But this is where we're coming into healing and sovereignty and releasing all of the things, the people, the situations, the places, everything that is no longer in alignment with who we are as we're evolving. Because we can't stay the same forever. And when we change, people aren't always going to like it. And
Yeah.
one of the reasons is because they have no one to dump on anymore, because now we have boundaries and we're not allowing you just to dump all your stuff on, just to come over and complain and yap and talk and just to have somebody to complain to without ever changing. No,
Yeah.
you have to draw a line there. Those people, those kinds of people are energy vampires and they will take from you until you have nothing left. So when you start to place boundaries with those kinds of people, they're not going to like it and they might
Yeah.
leave. And that's okay because that opens the door for people who are aligned with your authentic truth to come in. Because a person that really loves you and cares about you is going to respect your boundaries. Is not going to ask you for an excuse when you say, I'm sorry, I can't do that right now.
Right. That's all.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that kind of situation can make someone feel really uncomfortable. It can feel really uncomfortable at first to say no, to create those boundaries, but it's something that you have to do if you want to heal from the codependency of needing people to like you, to love you, to validate you. When you look at someone who's empowered in life, who's empowered and sovereign and free, you can see how they're not looking outside of themselves for validations. Like they are who they say they are. And that's just it. They stand in their truth. They don't need anyone to like them. They don't care who doesn't like them, but they always do it from a loving, authentic place. It's not out of power or ego. It's out of an authentic truth. Just being who you are without being scared of who's going to like it or not. That's when you get to a real place of freedom, when you don't care anymore what people think of you or feel about you or who's going to leave or who's going to stay. That's true empowerment. So, I mean, we see this a lot with really sensitive people and light workers. It's it
That
can be
kind of lessons go in waves, by the way.
yeah.
Just so people know. Because I'm in a wave right now.
Yeah.
And it's a difficult wave because it's very personal. When you're like really in self-involved and you really care about, you cannot be a certain way because of who's looking. That's a very general sense where you care about whoever may judge you or whatever. And then when you stop caring about those people, then you can level up and be like, okay, I'm going to be me, and that's cool. And then sometimes the circle gets shorter or smaller and smaller, and then the same thing happens. So yeah, right now I'm in a place where it's like family. So it's really close, really close to home, family and friends.
Yeah. And you're not the only one going through that right now. So many of us are in that place. Thankfully, I'm not, but I know a lot of people that are feeling that rejection from their families, like people that are not getting the shot are feeling that rejection, not only from their close circle of friends, but from society as a whole. That's a huge, huge issue. And that's why so many people are caving, because of the peer pressure, the societal pressure, the family pressure, the need to just fit in, to belong, to not go
Right.
against the grain. That's why so many people who said they would never do it are just like, I give up. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it because of the need to fit in, to be liked, to not have that uncomfortability of being faced with people asking you that question and not knowing what to say.
Or to really feel that that's the only option they have left.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is exactly what the controllers do. This is exactly what they count on. They know human psychology. Like they know everything. They know
They're the
all of these
masters at it.
things.
They know exactly
Yeah.
how to manipulate people. Obviously, it's worked.
Yeah. They're just puppet masters. Um, oh, thanks, Ava. He did not attend the session. His daughter actually got it for him.
Who?
She asked if he attended the session. Oh no, that was somebody else. Sorry. No, he didn't.
No one attended
No
their
one did
session tonight.
No.
It was all remote.
Yeah. Really, yeah, you're right. Only going to the hospitals when absolutely necessary, but never waiting too long where you're in danger, because some people can do that too.
Yeah. I left the hospital because I couldn't take it anymore. Working there, I mean.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, so what was interesting about this case was that he had this cord in his left foot that was related to the paternal side of his family, so his dad's side, and then was connected 4 generations back. So back to his great great grandmother. And this was something that they each had. So it went dad, grandmother, her father, and his mother. And so all 5 of them had this cord coming from the foot. and how it would affect their lives. It was like it was causing an imbalance, like it would feeling of stumbling and falling and not feeling fully grounded, not having your feet firmly planted on the ground. And apparently it was like a spell that was done by a witch and her husband. And it had something to do with money and family jewels and some kind of like transaction that went wrong, right?
Well, it didn't go wrong. It's just that they were expecting to be given more for the transaction. So I guess they got paid or whatever it was, but they were expecting, because they were so rich, to give them more.
Mm, interesting. Yeah, so that was really interesting. I've never seen like a kind of like a spell like that before come through as a like cord on the foot like that many generations back.
Yeah, it was really weird. But that
Yeah.
tonight too, like we've been seeing like generational like markings or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like a generational curse. Um,
Yeah.
the other thing we saw too, which was interesting, which we've never seen before, was a device right here in between the eyes that was affecting his physical eyesight.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we saw a
Yeah.
lot of really like different things tonight.
Tonight, yeah, but I think like in other sessions, like recently, maybe in the last couple of weeks, we've been seeing things. I'm like, oh, we've never seen that before.
Yeah.
We've never seen that before. I don't know if we wrote them down or anything like that, but I remember being like saying that like we haven't seen that yet.
Yeah. We should just come on and talk about them so we have a record, you know?
Yeah. Um, Jackson saying, what would you say to the people who don't believe in this? Well, there's just a you can believe what you'd like or whatever you feel. We always tell people, take what resonates, leave the rest. So if none of it does, leave it. And if it does resonate, then great, like educate and feel through it. I mean, there's not really much more we can say.
Right.
Like we've seen it, we've been able to live through it or see the things that we're talking about, have been validated by the people we've worked with. So I don't know, like for us, like it has been validating for, especially through the work that we've been doing. And just in life itself, I mean, like we didn't realize that this was the path we were going to take. But I mean, looking back in retrospect, there was a lot of things that we had seen that were magical or whatever you want to call it. And just accumulating that in our experience and then actually making money out of it. So yay. So I mean, like you can make this into, I don't know, like it really depends on the people. I feel like this is really good education for people just to know that this stuff exists. But it could be very hard because so many people are so programmed and indoctrinated in what the world has shown them, the programs that we have been like, well, programmed into believing science, specific science, specific history. But mankind has erased history. They've erased a lot of stuff and made their own stuff. So um yeah, we go by what feels truthful because we've been able to heal ourselves in our process, in our spiritual journeys. And through that healing, we have removed a lot of those densities out of the body, that it's a lot easier for us to navigate life, not with only just words, but with energy and the feeling of it. So, like we said, take what resonates, leave the rest.
Yeah. I was just thinking back to myself, like revisiting a past version of myself that was just opening up to these kinds of things. First of all, I was like super hardcore into science, trained in the medical profession as a nurse, like totally didn't believe in any of this stuff at all, at all. Um,
I think you must have to some degree, because I have too, but it's just I wasn't educated in it enough. because there was obviously a spark in your curiosity, you know, by watching those shows or going down the rabbit hole. Like I was on the rabbit hole all the time when we had dial-up internet. I was like on GeoCities and I was looking up some ghost stories or alien stuff or whatever. There's something there in your curiosity that is indicating something to you that you already know exists. Does that
Right.
make sense? You know?
Right. Absolutely. Oh yeah, I was totally always there. Even for when I was a child, like I was always attracted to paranormal and like scary movies and like all of that kind of stuff. Like I was always really interested in that. It just wasn't anywhere in my reality. But it didn't fully come into my reality until after my parents died. And then I was like, okay, I need to freaking find out if there really is an afterlife, if this is real.
Yeah.
And that's when that's really when I started my awakening really slowly and connecting with like mediums and that kind of thing and seeing, yeah, there is a soul and there is an afterlife and they're absolutely fine. And then that led into more and more and more kinds of things to where we are now, which has been a huge evolution. So I can understand when someone is skeptical, of course, because I've always been a healthy skeptic myself. Sometimes I am still like, oh my God, that really worked. I can't believe it.
We're
Like,
still like that. We're blown away just by feedback from our clients and just the validation. Because sometimes our clients aren't even there. Or if we had one client who was physically reacting to the clearing that we were doing on her. So you could actually see her body moving or, or validating what was going on. And they validate after saying like, you said what I was seeing, like as we were in it. So, I mean, like, there's just some things that you can't make up. There's way too many coincidences for it to not be real, I guess. But again, it's like, it's really up to you. Like if you're open, how open do you want to be? At least to accept that, there are some realities that don't look like yours, and it's cool. Like we can all coexist, that we have already coexisted.
right.
So
Yeah.
Lenny is asking, how do you see it, if I can ask? It's how do I see? Well, we all have senses. We have our physical eyes, we have touch, we have all of that. But I can, like Tina too, like when we go into trance or when we go in, like my eyes are closed, but I can see different things or I could sense different things, right? Um, it's just a knowing. You know how if you've ever had just something that you just knew and you had no physical or tangible proof to it, but you just know it? It's kind of like that. Like your intuition is that. So that's how we work. It's basically through intuition. So sometimes, for example, like when we saw the vines, I had no idea. Like my mental conscious mind was like, I don't know what that is. Why is that? Why are you seeing that? So I have to go in there and be curious. So I go closer to it. I touch it. I sense it. I allow it to speak to me or for me to get information from it. And then when I get the information, then I can tell you what it is. So, I mean, like, yeah, myself is there and it's like, I don't know what that is, you know?
Yeah.
But as investigators, we have to go in and look just as we would in this world. Like if we're trying to look for something, we have to use our eyes, our senses, gather information, get data so that we can put the story together. So it is an interpretation also, mind you, because we are human filters. So like, but again, it's just like an interpretation. I guess you can't really take everything as the absolute truth. But again, when the receiver, the client, for example, receives this information, if there is a resonance, we always say that too, take what resonates, leave the rest. So if they do feel validated from it, at least it'll give a deeper understanding of them. So I don't know, like what else I can say about
Well,
that.
I think, as a psychic medium, what you're doing is basically interpreting the energy that is shown to you, right? And so each psychic medium is going to have a different interpretation of that energy. It's a very subjective thing. I mean, intuition isn't black and white. Intuition is a feminine energy. So it's going to be more open and flowing and creative rather than scientific, you know? So there needs to be like some room there. You know, when you view or hear this information, it's like you don't take it as 100% fact, you know, like
Yeah.
at least I don't. Like when I hear intuitive information or things that come through in this kind of way, channelings even, I don't take it as 100% fact. Not even our own sessions do I take as 100% fact. But it's like when it does resonate, I'm like, and when we see results from people, I'm like, whoa, that's real. You know,
Yeah.
like that's real somewhere, somehow that's real and that's really working. So there's
Yeah.
that connection there, you know, where it's like undeniable. You can't deny it when people come back and say, whoa, I can't believe you knew that about me. Or whoa, like I
Or
just felt that
physically.
cord being pulled out of my chest, you know, like, or, you know, yeah, the physical things are amazing. And just the other day, we did a session for one of my close friends, and her father showed up as a spirit. And when he was alive, he loved to smoke weed. He did it like all the time. And he handed us, he called them doobies out of his pocket, right? And
Did he call him that in real life? Or
to be honest, I don't know. Probably. It would probably be something he would say. But so the next day, my friend was telling our other friend about it. And she was like, oh my God, I put a doobie in his pocket, like at his funeral. Yeah.
right. So I mean, like, there's just some things that you just don't know, or because it was very specific thing, you know, because his daughter was asked, or we were saying like, what kind of signs would you be able to give? And he was just like, he emptied out his pockets. That's what I saw. He just emptied out his pockets and just kind of threw everything. He's like, it's going to be anything and everything that she feels resonant to, that she feels and knows that it's me, you know? So, and then, but then there was a doobie that fell on the floor, and he's like, oh no, this is mine though. And he picked it up and put it back in his pocket. He's like, we could share. He's like, but this one is mine type thing. So it was specific. Put it back in his pocket.
Yeah. That was wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's things like that, you know, it's just, how can you deny that that's real?
Yeah. I mean, again, it's,
We're not here to
yeah.
prove anything to anybody, you
No.
know, but like,
No.
you know, there's scientific proof that this kind of stuff exists. If you look at Dr. Terrence Palmer's book called The Science of Spirit Possession, he lays it all out in his doctorate thesis. That, I mean, this is what he went to university for and got his PhD. So, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of real scientific proof out there, which is actually what started my, like, accelerated my awakening, was actually learning about the study of consciousness, which is the science of noetics. And that really opened my mind to like, whoa, there's something more here, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And that got me really interested, like seeing the scientific evidence of consciousness and beginning to learn how it works.
Yeah.
So, I hope that helps you guys.
Yeah.
Let me see if there's anything more about this. Oh, there was an Earthbound with this man, attached to this man, who was a man in his 70s that also had a very similar vibration to this person, but it was someone that he knew. So it felt like maybe a grandfather or father spirit to me. Is that what you felt?
Yeah, like
Something like that?
relative. I wasn't sure if it was like his, I don't know if his father passed. So, but it felt like, yeah, that father, grandfather, an uncle maybe, but I felt even uncle was still a little out there, but it did feel like a father like line type thing.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
how I kind of also, just for people's knowledge, I mean, like how I navigate. Um, like, so if I do feel like there's someone there, I could feel, I ask myself questions, or I ask, is that a friend? Yes or no? No, it feels relative. Yes. So I go there. I say it's a relative, or it feels like a relative, something like that, close. And is it male or female? That could be very clear. And then does it feel like so when I said like father, or it could be an uncle, even uncle felt like it was outside of the line, so discarded. It's father, you know. So that's how I read through it. Um, I find it's very helpful, to be honest, like when you're with me, like working, like we work together all the time. But I mean, like when Tina's holding space for me, I feel very safe to go in and gather the berries. Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
easier for me to go in there, because like you're very vulnerable when you're going into a space like this, especially when you're dealing with entities or demons and things like that. Even like those malicious earthbounds or whatever they are, who are probably possessed anyway. Just
Mm-hmm.
side note. Um
Yeah,
yeah,
it's real.
it's real deep. Yeah, so I mean, like, yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, like when you hold the space for it, it feels it's easier for me to gather information. I feel like the cord between us, like I was saying yesterday, it can stretch so far, because I know that I can go to the deep depths knowing that you're going to pull me back
Yeah.
if necessary.
I feel like we can go so much deeper because we work as a team and because we work so well as a team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And Tina understands all my hand gestures. Like I don't see, but I mean, I'm speaking with my hands too. And I'm like, you see that? Like, and she says it, and I'm like, yes. I don't know what this is, but yeah, you got it.
Telepathy.
Yeah,
Telepathy is real.
it's very real. That's magic too.
All right, guys. Well, if you don't have any more questions, it's almost 3 a.m. here. I don't even know what we're doing up so late right now.
Well, we were
Um,
supposed to watch a movie, but then we decided to talk about our sessions because they were actually extremely interesting
yeah.
and very healing. I find like the sessions that we've been having are like in bulk, sometimes relative to what we need, or at least what I need to heal in myself. So, yeah, I saw a lot of that like in the last session. So it was all mental stuff. So I'm like, oh, thank you. Thank you, Jesus and Mary.
Yeah, well, we always set the intention to receive the healing that we need from our sessions as well. Even though we're doing them for other people, we receive healing energy too. That's one of the amazing benefits of
I
doing this
know.
work.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We've healed and expanded so much since, I mean, we really got in deep to this work like the beginning of 2020.
Yeah. Like New Year,
New
January
Year,
1st,
New Year's Day, yeah.
2020. Yeah.
And then it's been like a catapult of just expansion since then, and
Yeah.
just learning more and more every day. It's been an amazing ride so far.
Yeah. It's really cool to be educated by spirit itself, and being able to get out of this dimension and go into another to learn more about what we cannot see. And I find it so healing to for people to be seen, when they are finally seen and validated, that's when they can really heal themselves, because they don't feel like they're crazy anymore.
Right. Because very often people will feel like I just feel so stuck. I don't know why I'm so stuck. Or I feel like every time I take a step forward, I'm pulled two steps back and things keep going wrong. And it's because of these attachments that keeps happening. I know, because I went through it myself. And I initially thought I was crazy. I'm like, are there really dark entities? Could they be attached to me? Like, what? Like, nobody wants to believe that, but you, at some point, you have to face the reality that yes, there are dark entities. Yes, they can attach to you. And if you ignore it, it's not going to go away. It's just going to keep getting worse. Like, that's what was keeping me from fully healing from chronic illness. And it wasn't until I released those attachments that my healing finally really started. You know, because all healing begins and ends on the spiritual level. If you have entities attached to you in any form, there's only so far you can go. And it puts like a cap on the healing that is possible. So once you clear the spirit, it's really about clearing the spirit, then that really opens the space up for your healing. And you can finally take it all the way, because you can heal yourself. That's the thing. Like, you can heal yourself from anything if you believe that you can. And it's really that simply complicated.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah.
it. Well, thank you everyone who showed up tonight. We really appreciate your presence and for your curiosity and your openness.
Yeah. Really great questions.
Yeah, really good
Really great.
questions. We hope that maybe we opened you up a little bit more, your curiosity a little more. So if you'd like to just follow our videos, or, you know, any suggestions on future videos that you would be interested in that we talk about, you can do it in the comments. Like, subscribe really helps. We're being shadow banned. I mean, like, we're a really tiny mom and mom like kind of shop. So it's like,
Yeah, we're being shadow banned everywhere.
yeah, we'd appreciate your support. And we do honest work, and we'd like honest sleep. So
All right. Thanks for hanging out, guys.
yes.
Oh, Ava, yeah, I agree with you that you have to protect yourself from going into the hospital. Absolutely.
You have to protect yourself everywhere. The world is so dark, everybody. Protect yourself at all times. At all times, please. Your very precious selves.
Exactly.
When you start to value yourself, you'll protect yourself.
Right. You deserve that protection, for sure. All right, guys. Love you so much. I'll see you next time.
Or like